Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to my channel Colonati. Today I'm going to do a quick haul of the books that I bought when I visited Bree from Stories from the Shelf in Minneapolis, and we went to Uncle Hugo's science fiction bookstore and a comic store, and I bought things. And now I'm going to show them to you. There is no sense of organization to this book haul. I'm just gonna randomly show you things from my stack here. The first book is The Amazing Morris and His Educated Rodents by Terry Pratchett. This is the Pied Piper of Discworld, and I don't remember anything about this book. I believe it was the first Discworld book I ever read, and may have been the first Terry Pratchett book I ever read. Years later, when I read more Terry Pratchett, I did not connect these things. It took me years to realize that this book that I had already read was part of Discworld. Anyway, I lucked out and found a pristine hardcover edition of this book. This is a 14-year-old hardcover. Like, I even checked the copyright page. It says first printing on it. It's nice, and I'm very glad I found this particular copy. Next, I have The Curse of Challon by Lois McMaster Bujold. This is the first book in her fantasy series. I believe it's just called the Challon Fantasy Series, and I showed the second book in this series, Paladin of Souls, in my On My Shelf video last week, and it's a beautiful book. As you can see, however, this is a hideous book. This is a really ugly book. I don't think I have ever seen an edition of The Curse of Challon that isn't just really ugly. But it is a very readable copy, and I chose this edition, which is not expensive at all, because I hold out that someday I'll be able to replace it with a prettier one. But for now, I have the book, and it is, for all that it's not a nice cover and the marketing isn't all that great, it is a really good fantasy book that I highly recommend. I do like the second book more, but the first book is also really good. I'm trying to collect copies of all of the Vorkosigan books by Bujold, and the bookstore had a display of like every single one in mass market paperbacks, and they're pretty decent looking. I have 3 of those for the last 3 books in the series, so that's what I'm trying to collect now for consistency on the shelf, if nothing else. But I only got one. I got Memory, which is, I think this is, I've totally forgotten now. I've done a review of this somewhere on my channel, but I believe it is pretty spoilery, so unless you are okay with being spoiled or you've already read the book, don't watch that video. But this, along with, I think the one that goes with this is Mirror Dance, which I don't own yet, I'd like to get it soon, is one of the best books in the series, and I'm very glad that I have a copy now. I decided I needed to get some kind of impulse purchase things, because usually when I go into a bookstore, I make a beeline for certain authors, certain shelves. I shop with purpose, guys. I'm not really good at just browsing the shelves all the time and just grabbing random things, but I made an excuse this time. I said, if I'm gonna be in this amazing bookstore that I probably won't be back at for some time, I need to get something random. I got a copy of Revelation Space by Alistair Reynolds, and I do believe this is the Alistair Reynolds that Paul read first, and it's been on my mind. I really, really want to read this, and now that I have a copy, that will happen sooner rather than later. Look how dark this book is. This is Pegasus in Flight by Anne McCaffrey. This is hopefully the first book in the Pegasus series. I think there are 3 or 4 books in that series, and I decided it was time. I finally read something by McCaffrey other than her Dragon Riders of Pern. I haven't read any of her other books, and this is science fiction-y, and I figured I might like this one better than like the Acorno ones with like the young girl with the unicorn horn on her head. That might be fantasy instead. So it was inexpensive and I got it. This next book is the one that I am happiest about finding in the bookstore. That was the biggest long shot. I really did not think I was gonna find it. It is the trade paperback edition of Citeen by C.J. Cherry. It's actually in pretty good condition. It's a little beat up, but you know, it's not like horribly stained or anything. This if I understand this correctly, Satine is from the same series world that she created for Down Below Station. Actually, this might have been published before Down Below Station. It was originally published as one volume, and then after that was only published in 3 parts. You had to buy 3 mass market paperbacks. So I was looking for the other 2 parts in the used mass market section, and I was telling Brie about this, that I was looking for the trade version, and she's like, oh, you mean that book right there? In the pile of books stacked on the floor? Good find, Brie. Good find. So I got 3 by Ursula K. Le Guin, and the first one is Jane on Her Own. It is the 4th Catwings book. The Catwings series are like little kids' books. They're on the low end of middle grade. They're not exactly like picture books. They have illustrations in them, and that's about it. I was obsessed with these books. I love them so much. They're like crack for little girls who very, very badly want cats but aren't allowed to have cats. They are literally about cats with wings. Flying cats. It's like combining kitty love with dragons. Does this make sense? Anyway, I'm gonna reread all of them now. They're so short. They're so cute. The second book I got by Le Guin is Cheek by Jowl. It is talks and essays on how and why fantasy matters, which, do you need a better selling point than Ursula K. Le Guin talking about why the fantasy genre matters, why it's important? I mean, this is a fantastic combination. She's such an intelligent woman. I want to know what she thinks about this, and I plan on reading this very quickly because I need to know. The final thing that I got by Le Guin is actually a bind-up. It is Worlds of Exile and Illusion, and it's 3 of the books from the Hainish series. They are City of Illusions, Planet of Exile, and Rockinen's World. I don't know anything about them. I don't think I've read these. If I have, I don't even recognize the titles. I read a bunch of Le Guin stuff when I was too young. I read them too quickly, and I was too young. I don't consider myself to have been too young to read many things, but I've always felt like I never got enough out of Le Guin's work when I read it for the first time, so I really very badly want to reread her works. But even if I have read any of these, I don't remember them at all, and I don't know what they're about. All I know is that they're set in the Hainish universe, and that is the same universe that The Left Hand of Darkness is set in, and that I do remember that being an amazing book, and I am slowly rereading it right now. I was inspired to start rereading it when I saw Chris just love the book, and I was like, I need to pull that off the shelf and start reading it again. I'll get through it eventually. That is everything that I bought at the science fiction bookstore. Yeah, that was quite a bit, actually. And then Brie took me to a small comic book store, and because they didn't have the comic I was looking for the first issue of Descender by Jeff Lemire, because I really want to try out that series. I let myself get this instead. It is the first volume of Lumberjanes by Noelle Stevenson and Grace Ellis. I don't want to get in the habit of buying trade comics because honestly they can be pretty expensive. I'd much rather get them from the library, but this one, I liked Nimona by Noelle Stevenson so much. I liked the writing. I really enjoyed her art style. It was just quirky and fun, and you know, she writes and draws for this one as well, and I said, I have heard nothing bad about this comic series. I'm gonna buy it and I will read it very soon. So that's everything that I bought, but before I left, I was gifted 3 more books because I saw this entire series in the bookstore and just said, I cannot justify buying these new because I've never read them. I could get them from the library, but they're so pretty. I really want them. And Brie said, I have the series and I will give it to you because I'm not going to reread it. And I was like, Brie, you are the sweetest person alive. Thank you so much. So this is the Split World series by Emma Newman, and I don't know if I've talked about this on my channel. Emma Newman does an SFF podcast called Tea and Jeopardy, and it is probably now my favorite SFF podcast. I've listened to a bunch, and this is really the only one that I listen to religiously. And I love Emma Newman so much, and I love the premise of the Tea and Jeopardy podcast that I really wanted to read this series. So the first book is Between Two Thorns. The second book is Any Other Name. And the third book is All Is Fair. It's kind of hard to read the text because it's very complicated typography, but they are beautiful covers. These are published by Angry Robot Books, which I've really enjoyed, things that they published. And they have a section on the back of all of their books, which is the file under. So this says file under fantasy. The categories are grotesquerie, The Throne of London, Tea and Jeopardy, and Among Many Thorns. I don't really know what the series is about, but just knowing that it's by Emma Newman and like knowing what those categories are, I gotta try this. So that is everything that I got on this lovely book shopping trip. I have all the warm, fuzzy feelings right now because I had a great time getting these books, and I got a really nice stack of things that I really enjoyed or really wanted. And I'm so happy about that. Yeah. So obviously I've managed to go on at great length about books without telling you anything really about them, because either I haven't read them yet or it's been so long since I read them that I don't remember enough to tell you really. But if you've read any of these, or you want to, if you want to give me any sense of the books that I haven't read yet, I would love to hear from you guys. Please comment down below, tell me what you think. I'm going to go away now, and I will talk to you guys again in my next video. Bye.